The NBA has recently been undergoing a transition. As the NBA enters this new modern era of basketball, shots like the one playing behind me are no longer the norm. The days of the Kevin Durant mid-range jab, pull are no longer relevant. As NBA teams are advancing into the days of analytics, people and fans are left questioning why and how has this shot that was once influential to the game of basketball became irrelevant. Now, let's talk about it. I'm sure for some people they may question why these types of shots are no longer here. However, we're going to break it down in today's video. The number one thing with the mid-range shot is math. Kevin Durant, in the season we're showing right here, in his MVP season, shot 46% on mid-range shots. This led to him averaging 0.91 points per possession on mid-range shots. As iconic as shots like the one we see right now are, these shots are still only averaging 0.91 points per possession, which is not a high number. And when we look at these types of mid-range shots, they've become less efficient as no one is shooting at Kevin Durant's clip in today's era, as players like Devin Booker are shooting at 43% or 40% depending on the type of player. Now let's look at this clip in particular and do a little bit of a breakdown. Right here, early in the shot clock, Kevin Durant is calling for a Steven Adams ball screen. Hassan Whiteside of the Heat is playing in drop coverage. And this is something that you really don't see much in today's NBA, but there really aren't many shooters on the court, as Kevin Durant's best shooter is Serge Ibaka, who in this era of his career was not shooting very well. That being said, in today's NBA, regardless of the fact that this lineup would probably never be put on the court together, this type of shot would not be the one that a team looks at. Initially you think, okay, Hassan Whiteside is in a drop, Kevin Durant gets to his spot and knocks it down. Still a good shot because he's Kevin Durant. But here's what he could have done. He could have had the potential in today's NBA, what a team would likely have him do is take another dribble, cause a defense to collapse. Andre Roberson slides over, and it's probably someone who can shoot much better than Andre Roberson. Kevin Durant can kick. Now we have a two-man game where Mario Chalmers has to make a decision. And now we attack the advantage and we continue. And if none of that works, this number right here is important. There's still 16 seconds left on the shot clock. As NBA teams consistently run drop coverage, it is very easy for this setting to happen. There is no reason why Kevin Durant can't drive, kick, do all of that, and maybe you get an open three or a layup. And if it doesn't work, when this number becomes 8 instead of 18, you can do it all over again and take the shot that we're taking here. That's what's important. This shot is almost always available in the modern NBA. It's still a good shot because he's Kevin Durant, but it's always available. Right here, we're going to see Devin Booker, who, as I mentioned, shoots 43% on mid-range jump shots. To get your points per possession number on that, it is 0.87 points per possession. And I'm going to highlight why that number is really not great. Now, granted, sometimes the shot is more open than others, and there are times where it makes sense. I'm also a believer in still taking the mid-range shot every once in a while to keep a defense honest. But when we look at this possession, Booker's going to call for a screen, and as I mentioned earlier, as most teams are, the Spurs are going to be in a drop coverage. The Spurs' entire goal is to give this shot up. This is what the Spurs are willing, comfortable, and able to give up. If Devin Booker wants here, he can really take probably another half a dribble, maybe hit a pass right here to the roll man, force the defense to collapse, and guess what we then have? We have two of the best shooters in the NBA wide open in the perimeter. You can also try to get to the rim yourself, get a finish. You could throw a pass to the big who can score. You can drive and kick. But this shot right here, yes, it goes in. Yes, it's a pretty open shot. But when you add the math, you're not even getting a full point for your team. On this next possession, it's going to be another very similar instance. A ball screen has occurred. Once again, the defense is going to come in, and this is a shot we see a lot. It's not an awful shot. However, it's a shot that we're going to see less and less as the NBA continues. Teams are going to want to get paint touches because when you get a paint touch, the defense collapses, you can kick, and your chances of getting a better shot are much higher. And as I mentioned and have emphasized before, you can always get this look. When there's over 10 seconds on the clock, you can get a better shot. On this possession, we're going to see more of Devin Booker against drop coverage. Right here, I don't mind this shot because it is so open. It's a pretty good shot. And I think you are more than capable of taking this. And this shot in particular, because of how low the drop is completely fine. But even in this scenario, you can always get this shot. There's nothing stopping Booker from attacking the rim more, making the defense collapse, and trying to turn a good shot into a great shot. This is still a good shot, and Devin Booker's a superstar. However, there are always better options than a mid-range. Right here, we're going to see Chris Paul, who's famous for a mid-range shot, and right here, still a very good shot. However, in Chris Paul's season, he once again this year, in this season with the Clippers, shot 43.3% from the mid-range, once again, 0.87 points. While shots sometimes can look like this, and when they are as open as the one we are about to see, it's still a good look. Once again, a lot of time on the shot clock. I don't mind this because it is so open, but as good as we feel like Chris Paul is, and Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and the guys we think of when we think a mid-range shot is, none of them are averaging more than a point per possession on their mid-range jump shots. On the other hand, when you have 0.87 points, let's think about how we get there. Let's talk about somebody that NBA fans love to mention on Twitter, Killian Hayes. When Killian Hayes, who I think every single person watching this video would agree, is a very poor shooter, he ranks in the 21st percentile of three-point shooting in the NBA. When he takes a three-point shot, he is averaging 0.89 points per possession, which is higher than a Devin Booker or Chris Paul mid-range, and almost as high as a prime MVP Kevin Durant mid-range shot. And here's why. The shot quality is higher. Monte Morris here is going to use a screen, drive, and kick. And even though Killian Hayes shoots a poor percentage, when he makes it, he gets the extra point for taking a 3 rather than a 2. The shot quality is high, and it goes in. And this is Killian Hayes we're talking about. On this possession, it's going to be another very similar outcome where Cade Cunningham a few years ago in 2015 probably would have been encouraged to take a step back mid-range here and get to his spot. And while there is still a place for that in the NBA, the numbers will tell you time and time again that this shot is better than this shot. And guess what? It works, and it's a bucket. Right here, it's another opportunity, and we're talking about Killian Hayes being as high as Devin Booker. That's a crazy number. And let's point out this possession. Let's break it down a little bit more. Cade Cunningham gets into the paint. When you get a paint touch, you force Grayson Allen to come in, contest, and it allows Killian Hayes to slide, get an open look, and knock down a 3. Now let's talk about another player who is an extremely poor three-point shooter. However, he also averages 0.89 points per possession on threes. While Jared Vanderbilt rarely takes threes, once again, his shots are more efficient when you look at purely the numbers. Right here, Austin Reeves. A few years ago, he would have been more than encouraged to take another dribble in and take a mid-range shot. Right here, you would have seen this time and time again in 2015. In today's NBA, the read he's told to make is this one, where we're taking a Jared Vanderbilt jump shot, someone who is at the bottom of the NBA in shooting. This is what the analytics are saying in the modern NBA. Right here, it's another instance of this, where we see again Austin Reeves taking it in and kicking it for a three. So far, we have talked about the two extremes. We've talked about the best mid-range shooters and the worst three-point shooters. But more often than not, it's going to result in someone like a Devontae Graham taking a three, or a more average three-point shooter that shoots an even higher percentage than a Killian Hayes or Jared Vanderbilt. Alternatively, most teams don't have a guy like a Kevin Durant or a Devin Booker taking these mid-range shots. And these mid-range shots are taken by less talented players from those positions. And once again, it makes the three-point shot that much more valuable. A Trey Lyles catch and shoot mid-range three, or catch and shoot three, is much higher of an efficiency shot than a De'Aaron Fox mid-range. And this is something that years ago, players would not have understood. Time and time again, teams are rather having Nick Batum take a catch and shoot three than Kawhi Leonard taking a mid-range. This is representing a massive change in the modern NBA, as shots like the one we see right now are no longer the norm. If you like this video and are interested in learning more about the ins and outs of basketball from a player analysis, X's and O's, and analytics perspective, please subscribe and feel free to comment down below to let me know which video you'd like to watch next.